Thank you for the introduction. So today, we're all here to talk about LangChain. And so LangChain, why, like every developer should have that features and know how to use that framework today to interact with the LLMs. So a bit of introduction. Me, I'm Henry Lagarde. So I'm a senior software engineer at Criteo. Criteo is an ad tech company specialized in retargeting and retail media. If you want, you will have all my slides on my GitHub, so feel free to reach out. But here we are here to talk about LangChain. So first, we will see what is LangChain, so why it's a cool framework. Then we will see the fundamentals of LangChain, the bricks, what compose LangChain. And at the end, we will see to have some fun and try to create some small apps together. Okay, so what is LangChain? So LangChain appear in an area where we have to put AI everywhere. Companies that wasn't doing AI now are doing AI. But let's be honest, most of the apps just are calling GPT and the OpenAI API. Because, yeah, a 2024 startups without AI is not a startups. But to explain you what is LangChain, I think that the best thing is to just let Harrison talk about it.
The way that we describe it or think about it internally is that LangChain is basically, and I started off saying LangChain is a framework for building LLM applications, but that's really vague and not really specific. And I think part of the issue is LangChain does do a lot, so it's hard to be somewhat specific. But I think the way that we think about it internally in terms of like prioritization, what to focus on, is basically LangChain's a framework for building context-aware reasoning applications. And so that's a bit of a mouthful, but I think there's a lot, I think that speaks to a lot of the core parts of what's in LangChain. And so what concretely that means in LangChain, there's really two things. One is a set of kind of like components and modules, and these can be kind of like, these would be kind of like the prompt template abstraction, the LLM abstraction, chat model abstraction, vector store abstraction, text splitters, document loaders. And so these are combinations of things that we build and we implement, or we just have integrations with. So we don't have any language models ourselves. We don't have any vector stores ourselves, but we integrate with a lot of them. And then the text splitters, we kind of like have our own logic for that. The document loaders, we have our own logic for that. And so those are kind of like the individual modules. But then I think another big part of LangChain, and probably the part that got people using it the most, is like the end-to-end kind of like chains or applications.
So as Harrison explained, so the CEO of LangChain, the founder of LangChain, LangChain has been built with the idea of composability. So it means that any AI engineer, any engineer will want at a point to switch from one LLM to another one, maybe because the price goes up, because the performance went down. And we want also maybe to combine them into chains, to use a flexible interface to be able to reuse what we have done and not have a specific implementation for a specific LLM. What I really like about LangChain is that it's a pretty young framework. I mean, it has been built in end of 2022. And it has been built with the idea of to be for the community and to be open source since the beginning. There is a lot of contributors, not like a small project. It has been built first in Python and TypeScript, but as I mentioned, the community is there. So for our Java fellows, we have the LangChain 4G that explodes a lot. We have the Rust version, the Go version, the .NET version. It has been also awarded the new tool of the year of 2023. So it's really growing a lot and start to be really one of the major package to use today. So now we will see the fundamentals. So what is LangChain? Because I was talking about LangChain, but in fact, now there is a whole ecosystem around it. So we have the LangChain models that we will see a bit deeper right after. That is basically all the retrievals, the memory, the connection to the LLMs, the chains, the agents. But in fact, now you can really create an application from the prototype to the production thanks to LangChain. So you can also use LangServe to show your chain as some REST API. So you can either invoke them or stream them directly. It has been built with Python, of course, like most of the LLM stuff. You can use Longsmith to monitor your run. We already have our cloud provider to make our pay big bills. So let's try to not pay too much with our LLMs too. And then, of course, you can just deploy it on the cloud or on-premise as you want. So we'll go a little bit deeper on the modules of LangChain. First, we have a standard way to communicate with the LLMs. We think the agents. So you can use different methods to interact with them. Either use the function from OpenAPI, if it's an LLM compatible with that, or some different other ways to interact and to act with it. So reason, act, plan, and execute. We have then the chains. That will be a chain of action based on an input. So depending on your input, your LLM will have different chain of action. You will be able to format your output and input to a specific type, to a specific way, without handling the different, to specify, you don't have yourself to specify the output and the input. Just strong typing will do the job. Behind it, LangChain will generate the prompt for you. But this is also quite nice, because we can imagine somehow your contract with your API broke. You can just put your LLM there, and it will fix the output of your API by himself. So no more Swagger exception. We have also all the memory part. So it has some connection with SQLDB, NoSQLDB, vector store. I think you heard a lot about vector store these days in these conferences. You have also all the prompt template. So the prompt templating, for who does a little bit of Python, is comparable to the F string. So you just inject some variables in a string, basically. And you have all the part of document retriever, document loader. So you have plenty of connections with GitHub, Confluence, web scraping, PDF, CSV, Excel. Name one, you have it. So you can retrieve some document, split it if you want, if you need it, tokenize it for your LLM in a standard way and in a standard interface. And then you can save it into a vector store, either self-hosted or DB as a service. Okay. So now that we understood a bit the fundamentals and what are LangChain and the different modules of LangChain, we'll try to implement some stuff because we want to have some fun. So first, as a developer who doesn't want to pay $20 per month for ChatGPT Plus and to have access to ChatGPT 4, so let's just rebuild it. I mean, the basic features, at least. Just. Oops. Okay. So the idea behind it is to be able to ask some question to ChatGPT and to the OpenAI API and to get some answer. So first, I mean, the first thing that we will have in mind will be to create the client, so to instantiate the connection with the LLM. So for that, I will use ChatGPT, Chat OpenAI with the GPT 3.5 turbo version. But if we want, we can use the GPT-4 with the API directly. So I just instantiate my client. Then I will create the chat history, because you want to have a discussion. So you want to have your LLM to be context aware. So if you told him something before, you want him to remember a reminder about it and to be able to reuse the information. Then the second point is to use the prompt. It's not that magic, it's just there is a comment behind it. Copilot is not that good for now. But the prompt template, so this is in Python, but I think in Java it's almost the same. You just basically say, is it a system message? So the system message is what kind of assistant you are, if you need some more information. If it's a human message, and here's a message placeholder for the chat history. So the idea that the LLM will put all the history of your message before the new input. And here, as I mentioned before, this is how we create a prompt template. So we just pass a variable, and LangChain will interpolate it. Okay, now the hard part. We have to combine the client and the prompt. That's it. We just combine the prompt and the client. We will now instantiate so the LLM to be able to do it by yourself, do by himself, to add the memory inside the prompt template, because we don't want to have to recreate a prompt template every time. So we just create a runnable with message history, and it will handle it for you. Okay, so since we'll do just a while loop, we'll just do a while loop to be able to stay in the loop. And then so we will take the input, is a little bit too. We'll just put the input with a break message to be sure that we can exit safely. We'll add the user message in our chat history that we started just before, and print the different messages to be able to see what is going on. The second thing is just to invoke our LLM, and we are done. So we just call the LLM with our input. He doesn't want. I forgot to import. Look. It's better if I import the packages. Okay. Cool. What I should visit in Athens. Okay, perfect. But it's not really ChatGPT. I mean, you know, as ChatGPT, it's like it's streaming. So you have the word one by one or block by blocks. So it's not that exactly the same. So we want to replicate that. So be careful, it will be a little bit more complex. So instead of invoking it, we'll stream it. Okay. And so the response won't be just the string, but it will be an array of string, basically. So what we will do, we'll look for it, for chunk in response, and we will just want the content. Okay. And that's it. Oh. I will just improve it a bit to have everything on the same line, to have something a little bit so should I visit? It's better, no? So we have something that stream. We have something that remember our history chat with like maybe 10 lines of code. But it doesn't cost you $20 per month. And the good part is that, in fact, even though we say, like, okay, we don't have the plugins that are fun in ChatGPT, but you can rebuild it quite easily, in fact. Everything was already there on the API side before that in the UI. Okay. Okay, we just, perfect. So what have we seen during this demo? We have seen like how we can handle the memory, how with an input, we will inject it into LangChain that will call the model with maybe some output parser. In our case, it's just a string. See the output, put it in the memory, and reuse it, and reuse the memory in LangChain before our input. The next part will be something a little bit more complex, I want to say, is to be able to create something and to create an agent, our first agent and chain of action, that will generate a PowerPoint for us. Okay, and see if it makes sense, what they will say. So the first thing is that the user will put a topic, will give a topic to our chain. Then the chain will do some research on the internet, because it doesn't want some information from 2021 or 2022, depending. And then it will generate a PowerPoint based on that different research that he has done. Okay. We'll close that. Boom. Oops, same thing. We'll just forget to hide it. Sorry. So I just set up few stuff. So here I will use the TypeScript package because I just want to have a nice. Oops, sorry. I think it's not showing. Recopie d'écran. Sorry. So I just set up some stuff. So this is the TypeScript package, just to show you the different existing packages and to be able to have a UI that runs in the web. So I set up a few things. First things is the prompt template message, the system message. The cool thing is that this system message will explain what I want the chain to do to avoid to re-explain it every time. So it's a bit long. And to be honest, I didn't write it myself. You know, I talked about Longsmith just before. And so Longsmith also has an hub. So it's for tracking, for monitoring, but also there is a hub for the community just to share some templates of prompts, some templates of agents, so you can just reuse it. And there is a very nice prompt, just like you give him your template, your prompt message, and it will improve it and make it more readable and more advanced for the LLM. So mine was 3 lines maybe, and it's created everything. I have to be honest. I also just set up the message template for the human. So because I don't want the user to input like, I would like to create a PowerPoint or that. I just want him to put the topic. So I would like to create a PowerPoint presentation with the topic and with the input here. I also set up another thing, because we don't really care about it, but it's basically just the layout of the PowerPoint to have something a little bit sexy with some colors and some disposition. Just to, I like that the things are pretty. Okay. First thing that we will need is a way to search on the internet. So for that, we will use the Serper API, and we are quite lucky. There is an integration with it in LangChain. So we'll just do Serper. So we'll just instantiate my Serper API. Okay. Second thing, we will define all the tools. So the tools will be the elements that the agent will be able to use. So of course, there will be the ability to search on the internet and the ability to generate a PowerPoint. So first, we will create the tool to search on the internet. So how we are doing that? So we are creating a dynamic tool with a name to be able to reference it, for example, in our system message. And description. The description is quite important because it will help the LLM and the agent to understand when it should call that tool. And so in our case, it just basically, if we are asked to do a research, use this one. And the input is just an input, a string. The second thing, the second tool that we will need to define is the one for the PowerPoint. So it will be a little bit more complex because I want to have a schema. So when they will call my function, it has a specific type. And so it needs to be called with that specific type. So in TypeScript, or in Python, it's with Pydantic, but the idea is to use Zod. So it's because TypeScript, it's uncompiled language, the types is checked, Zod it will be on the runtime. And so you just give him basically the type that you want. And so behind it, it will generate a prompt with an example of the JSON that you want, the way that you want it, what are the name of the field, what are the description of the fields if there are some description. So it will generate everything for you. You don't have to bother about it. Basically, the only difference is that you need to do a dynamic structure tool instead of a dynamic tool in TypeScript. And so with the tool input, so I have my type here. It will call my generate PowerPoint. Perfect. Now we'll need to define the chat prompt. So just as before, we'll combine the different prompt and the different prompt message that I set up just before into one chat prompt. And so in that case, you remember just before it was the message placeholder was for the history. Here now, it's for the agent scratchpad. It's the same idea than the history. The idea here is just to be able to give a place where the LLM can do this, so in our case, do this research, save some information, reuse it, in order to create the final output that you want. Now, so I will have to set up my ChatGPT, so my chat OpenAI. So you can see in Python, or also in TypeScript, if your environment variable are well named, you are not needed to pass them. It's just some front-end stuff that bother me a bit, but it's okay. You can't name it as you want, basically. And so now I just instantiate my model with chat OpenAI, but I'm using Azure this time, and not directly the OpenAI API. And so now I will create the agent. So the agent is the thing that will encapsulate, I want to say, everything that we set up before. So the prompt, the model, and the tools. And how we can do that, like that. Just say, this is my LLM, this is my tools that you have access to, this is my prompt. Do whatever I ask you to do. Okay, so let's continue. So this is something that I kind of really doesn't like. It doesn't really make sense in my point of view. But once you have created an agent, you have to create an agent executor and basically repass some information that you just passed before. So it's a little bit strange. So you are passing the agent, but you need to repass the tools. So it's a little bit strange. But the good thing is that you can also pass some callbacks. So I said that I set up only the PowerPoint and the front end, but in fact, I also set up the callbacks. So the callback, what it will do, so it's just in a class with some method that you can reuse in order maybe to show some information to when you are calling something for some specific action that the chain is doing, you can do some specific action back. So it's good for tracing. It's good so if you want to plug your monitoring things, it's there that you can monitor it. For longsmith, it's just something that you need to activate. I'll show you just after. And so you have different action, and it's just to have some things that pops in the UI. Okay, so now we are almost done. So once we have our agent and executor, what you have to do it is just to invoke it with the theme, of course, that we passed. So what is happening? So basically, the agent will use the theme that we pass, so with the input, and replace the input in the prompt template from the user in the prompt template message. Okay. So let's see what is going on, if it's working or not. Wrong page, wrong side, up. Okay. If I go on the console, look, so for example, we'll see if it's working or not. It really depends of the LLM if the LLM is lazy or not. So I would like to create a PowerPoint on Google Cloud. To be honest, we are not using cloud at Criteo, so I don't know nothing about cloud. So we'll see if it makes sense. You will tell me. So he's doing some research. Okay. So for now, it makes sense how to use Google Cloud. And so if we check in the network, you can see that it's calling the search. And here for the completion, so the completion part, it's where you will see like the different message with the function, with the different text, with the function that is used, so you can a little bit trace what is going on. For the generation of the PowerPoint, it's a little bit slow, so I have some example if it's, yeah. Okay, we won't wait, so we won't have time. But, up. I saved an example just to show you, to be able to show you what is going on. It's a little bit small, but the idea is that, so I ask a presentation about Google Cloud. Then it will do some different research. So introduction, key features, benefits. And then it will call the PowerPoint generator with, maybe it's not that obvious, but you can see that I have the sources of my information, because I want to do something with source. I want to be clear on what I'm doing. And so well formatted. And then at the end, you say that you can download it. I've created your PowerPoint. Just, will I be able to show it to you or not? Okay. Where is it? I just have to find it on my, okay. So Google Cloud. Okay, introduction. Okay. Okay, I have some information. It wasn't that talkative today, but way it's good. Okay, comparison with AWS makes sense, and Azure. And thank you. Okay. So it's working. Sometimes it's working. So what we learned during this demo, I want to say. So first, that the user with some prompt can interact with the LangChain and with some chains. The chain will have either a memory, a scratchpad, to be able to let the LLM to interact and put some information in it. We have some output parser for our function, the PowerPoint generator. And we have the LangChain agents. So the agent with the two different agents and the two different functions. For that, it will call with some callbacks that I show to show stuff on the UI, or other thing, tracing, monitoring. And then directly in the output, you get back to the user. Okay. Conclusion. So I see you already just running into LangChain and think that, okay, it's perfect. I won't need to work anymore. But be careful. I mean, you already all noticed once, even though it's a great project, it's a great thing. I love it. I love to do some things with it. I think for Devoxx France, I built a game at our stand with the LLM. To play with it, you have to find the issue and why it's not working. But the LLM are lazy, especially nowadays. Like we never faced like ChatGPT. You are asking a question, and say, "Yeah, just do it," and ChatGPT just answer you, "Just do it." So be careful with it. Try it. Try to improve some aspect of your work. Try to improve some aspect of your company, maybe. But don't rely everything on the LLM. It's not pretty sure that everything will work. So thank you for listening to me. If you have any question, and if you want to follow me on Twitter, X, or my talks, I will also on my GitHub, you will have like the demonstration of this PowerPoint generator. So if you want to have fun with it, just play with it. Thank you.